Tonight, we are privileged to have Reverend Keith Kolstad from Marinette, Wisconsin, pastor of the Zion Lutheran Church, who was our past 2011 minister who toured, sponsored by our Grand Commandery from Dixon. So if you please welcome Reverend Keith.
Thank you so much for your invitation, for starters, because I really wanted to personally thank you for the generosity, for your generosity in being able to, for me to be able to go and experience this trip. Just to say that it was life-changing might sound maybe a little cliche, but it was. It was a powerful experience of those things that one hopes to do in life, the bucket list. This certainly was on it, but I never dreamt that it was going to be possible. And so when Moses and Jinx talked to me about the possibility of applying, I went, yeah, okay. And then when it finally came through that I had been chosen, I was just so grateful, but nowhere near as grateful as I am now, having experienced this, and again wanted to share with you personally my gratitude for being able to go. The places that I visited, that we visited, that were significant places in the life of Jesus. As we saw many other places as well. We went to the Dead Sea, we got to go to the top of Masada, we saw other Roman ruins and various other kinds of things. But what I'm going to be sharing with you are particular spots that, or situations that were particularly close and for me moving to experience. The first here, this picture here, is inside. Everyone can see if I just kind of keep moving around, you'll be able to see the picture just fine. Okay. Anyway, the inside of this is a church where that was built on top of the place where they think the Transfiguration took place. And here, just kind of pulling back a little bit, you see this window that's in the floor, and there's condensation on that window. They believe that that's probably the rock in which that Transfiguration took place. This is how the tour began, was at this place, and I knew that I was in for quite the treat. This is just another picture inside that church. One of the things that one learns immediately is that in the different places where significant events happen in the life of Jesus, there's going to be a church there. In fact, there's maybe, if anything, a little bit of irony with this particular place, because Peter wanted to build booths when the Transfiguration took place, and Jesus kind of poo-pooed that. God said, "This is my son. Listen to him," and they went down right away. Well, boom, we still build a church there. So anyway, I just thought that was a little ironic. This obviously isn't a church, but this is a replica, a small model of a boat that was typically used at the time of Jesus. And not so long ago, they found a boat that dates back to the time of Jesus. One can't help but think that, when Peter and James and John left their nets and all of that, that maybe they left the boat too, and well, no one attended to it because after everyone knew that that was Simon Peter's boat, and it just sat there and sat there. This is a story I came up with. No one ever said this. They don't know. But they do know for a fact that this boat dates back to that time. So was this the boat that Jesus was in when the storm happened on the Sea of Galilee? Or was this the brother Zebedee's boat? Or what? Who knows? But just seeing the craftsmanship of that time, how it seemed kind of like a garage. I got a couple of these boards and a couple of those boards and a little bit of this, and kind of cobbled it together, and we have a fishing boat. Being able to see that actual boat that was 2,000 years old, that was a very powerful experience. How do they know that that boat was 2,000 years old? Because here's some of the items that were in that boat, and these items are 2,000 years old. So they're pretty certain that this is a boat from that time. And here's just another picture of that model from a different angle. This is on the Sea of Galilee. A little shaky here, but anyway, just a little panoramic view here of the Sea of Galilee, the water that Jesus walked on. Yeah, right here, this lake, right here. He walked on that water, right there. It was very powerful, obviously, to experience that. As well as this is the water that the fishermen fished out of. This was it. And so this particular place is where they think that the Sermon on the Mount took place. This is right now kind of the center. It's a kind of a bowl-shaped area that goes down to the water. Excellent for acoustics. And right now, in this area right here is a banana grove. And you just can't help but wonder, 2,000 years ago, while they're listening to Jesus giving his first sermon, did they ever envision a banana grove? Well, bananas, period, but a banana grove there. Obviously how things change. And then the electric wires going past too. That was the center. This is off to the left. And this is off to the right. And part of the reason I took this picture is because, yes, even though this is, this wonderful sight, Jesus was here giving, the Sermon on the Mount, the Beatitudes, and here we've got, water bottles and trash and that kind of thing that, we are human. We are who we are. And of course, I have to build a church there because you can't have a place without building a church there. So that's the Church of the Beatitudes. And I couldn't help but take a picture of this sign. Don't do this, don't do that, don't do that. I just thought that. This is where the Gerasene demoniac, where Jesus chased out the demons out of the Gerasene demoniac, and they went into the pigs, then the pigs went into the sea. This is in Capernaum, and this church, of course, is built on top of some place that was significant in the life of Jesus. They believe that underneath this church is the house of Simon Peter's mother-in-law. Okay. And inside the church, they've got kind of right in the middle like this. They've got a glass over the top, and this is what it looks like in the glass. It's just, ruins, but they think that that's probably where Simon Peter's mother-in-law was. The uncertainty with that, troubled me a bit. However, not far away from there was the ruins of a synagogue. Okay? And this synagogue had been destroyed and rebuilt. And all of this part right here was the rebuild. This part down here was the foundation when that synagogue was there, when Jesus was there. I was more moved by that than Peter's mother-in-law's house and those ruins and all the questions around that. No, the town had only one synagogue, and Jesus taught in that synagogue. This is the synagogue, and there's the foundation of that time. So, if you could tell, I was more excited about that foundation. This is the River Jordan, and where the baptism of Jesus took place, that kind of thing. This is a place where people, it's designed for people to do baptisms or remembrances of baptisms, or just plain, why don't you get in the River Jordan and get wet? I didn't do that, but a number of people from our group did. All the people in white there, was a significant portion of our group, got in the River Jordan and renewed their baptisms there. A very powerful experience for them. It was raining that day, so it was wet. It was just wet, whether you're in the water or out. But they were just thrilled to be able to experience that remembrance of their baptism. This is Nazareth. Right here, where they think that possibly the house, where Jesus lived, where that was there. We got to visit, what looked like possibly a carpentry shop, that kind of thing. Again, a lot of question marks about that, but there was no question mark about this. If you remember the story where Jesus preached in the synagogue, he didn't give a real good reception. And they hauled him to the edge of town, and they were going to throw him over a cliff. That's the cliff. And it's awfully high. And that was, in fact, actually, the picture that I took of Nazareth was from here. I mean, I went, click, there's Nazareth, turned around, there's the cliff. So, yeah, that was powerful to me. We know that they took regular excursions to Jerusalem, and this is, minus the electrical wires, this is what it was like for them to go from Nazareth to Jerusalem. Jerusalem is up a pretty significant mountain, and so they would have to climb. It wasn't an easy trip to make their pilgrimages to Jerusalem. Here is Jerusalem. This is looking north at the old city. We are east of the old city. There's a wall here. You'll see more of it. But this is looking north from this old wall. Now this wall is a replica of the wall that was there at the time of Jesus, built by the Byzantines. So this wall is old enough, but it is not original because in the 70 AD, Jerusalem was completely destroyed. This is looking now toward the south, and they believe that actually that this wall ended too early. Well, they don't believe it. In fact, when they discovered it, even at the time that the wall was built, that they hadn't gone far enough, and they weren't happy about it. Actually, the original city went much farther than that, off to the south. And here is an angle looking at that toward the south. And here's yours truly with the Dome of the Rock in the background and that old city wall there. Now the Dome of the Rock, that is the place where the temple originally was. behind that wall. The Dome of the Rock, of course, is one of the three most holy sites for the Muslim faith. And so, there it is. I had a chance to go from where I was sitting there to go and kind of take the same path that Jesus took on Palm Sunday. One of the traditions that we have in the Lutheran Church, we often say, "All glory, laud, and honor to you, Redeemer King, to whom the lips of children." We usually have palms and we process around the sanctuary to this, and being able to sing that song as I was going down from the Mount of Olives to cross the Kidron Valley and go up toward Jerusalem, as pretty powerful. Again, thank you, just for that opportunity alone. Thank you. This is from the Kidron Valley, looking up toward the gate that Jesus went into when on that Palm Sunday. Just another view of that. We're back at the Mount of Olives, kind of where we started out, and here's olive trees on the Mount of Olives, and more olive trees on the Mount of Olives, and of course then there's the Garden of Gethsemane. I believe that this area we had a chance to be in. It was kind of a private garden, but was in the area of the Garden of Gethsemane. We had an opportunity to meditate and pray while we were there, and of course take pictures. One of the most moving things for me being in the Garden of Gethsemane was this tree. There's two of them like this. I mean, this one and another one. This tree is 2,000 years old. So, very good chance that this tree heard Jesus' prayers. This tree heard Jesus' prayers. That's pretty powerful. We had a chance to go to Bethlehem. You'll see that this painting here looks a little different than the stable scenes that we grew up with timbers and a roof or whatever, because they didn't do that. They used caves for their stables, and so it looked more like this. Now, of course, they build a church on top of where they think that took place. And here is in the basement of that church. We had to wait quite a long time while we were in the church, just in long lines to be able to get down to see what they believe is the cave that Jesus was born in. And it's all these decorations. We have a quick video here. Again, please allow for the shakiness, but it was just so many people. And what we're coming up to is a small hole in the floor where they believe that was the floor of the stable that Jesus was born in. And you can touch that if you want to. And there'll be a flash here where you can see it a little bit better. Yep, see? And it's underneath that. It's not that marble part, but the original ground is underneath that marble, and you could again touch that with the small hole. Obviously, kind of claustrophobic down there. So many people all packed in, but what a powerful experience to be in that place. And this is what it looked like. This is the mural right above where that little hole in the floor was. There's a close-up of Dome of the Rock. Now, usually non-Muslims are not able to go here most of the time. But I hit it the right day, the right time, where they had it open for visitors. And so after going through the checkpoints and all that kind of thing, was able to visit it. And again, this is where the temple was, the original temple was. This is a model of the temple. That's why you see all sorts of people in the background there. It's a small, well, actually a pretty elaborate model of the old city at the museum in Jerusalem. And that's what the temple looked like. There's another angle of what the temple looked like at the time of Jesus. This is looking at it from the Mount of Olives, from that Kidron Valley, from the east, looking at it, looking in the west. This is what that Kidron Valley looked like before there was an expressway there, which they have now. This is, the back side of the temple and the western wall. And here's the temple, and this area right in here is pretty significant because that was the only part that wasn't destroyed in 70 AD and is now known as the Wailing Wall. And having that opportunity to, again, witness, touch those stones that were there when Jesus was there, that temple, is pretty powerful, as it is obviously for them. This little wall right here, okay, the men could go on this side, and the women had to go on the other side of that wall. You had to, of course, have your head covered in order to be able to visit the wall. They have like bar mitzvahs and other celebrations that take place at this wall constantly, just daily. There's people there. When Jesus was 12 years old, his parents were worried because he wasn't with them, were worried that he was lost in the city someplace. These columns here are original columns from that time when they had all the marketplace. And they did kind of a neat thing where they had the original, and then it kind of went into what it actually looked like, this painting. And my next slide will show a better view of that painting. The old Jerusalem, the old city Jerusalem, is all these streets and marketplaces, and wow, easy to get lost in that. And before I always thought, well, come on, it wasn't that big. Why was they have such a hard time? Plus, I also thought, why didn't it take them 3 days? Why didn't they go to the temple right away? Come on, it was Jesus. They should have known. But anyway, after being on those streets, I understand more, because there's so much going on, so much busyness, and particularly at a festival time, so many people. As a parent, I guess I would be spending most of my time trying to find what would be probably, I would think, more alluring for a kid that was 12 years old. This is this is the model again. And looking at the outside gate on the western side of the old city, and here is the place where they think the crucifixion took place, and possibly where he was buried, right there. Of course, if it's a significant place and there was a significant event in the life of Jesus, what happens? Build a church there. Church of the Holy Sepulchre. Is built over the whole place. So that when you walk in this door right here, you see this mural. And the mural depicts the 3 stages, the crucifixion at one side, and in the middle where they prepared his body, and then placing his body in the tomb. His body, because that's right in front of you when you walk in the door. There's the stone here where they they say that this is where Jesus was laid out. But people come and rub cloths on this. Just the fact that's what this woman is doing here, is taking cloths and rubbing them on this stone as a blessing. Placing him in the tomb, and here is what they believe to be the tomb. Could not take pictures inside the tomb. Very low door to make sure that you crouched, that you knelt as you were going into that place. All sorts of candles and lights and whatever. And then on the other side of this is where I believe the crucifixion took place. This is a rock from what we saw earlier. There's kind of that rocky ground, quarry type area, whatever. This is the rock from there. I guess I was more moved by seeing this rock, knowing crucifixions happened outside the gate near the main wall, rocks like this, and that was powerful to me. And another picture of the rock where the cross might have been. We were very fortunate in that they have a treasury of all sorts of different artifacts, and this artifact is possibly wood from the cross that Jesus was crucified upon. Okay, how do they know that? Well, there was a large cistern that collected water, and there was a number of crosses that were in that cistern when Constantine's wife came there to build this church. And how would they know that of all these crosses that they found in the cistern, how would they know that this was the cross that Jesus was buried in? Well, they had that sign above there, King of the Jews, in the languages. Did they find the sign with it? We don't know, maybe, but there was probably, something that would have made one cross stand out from all the other crosses that were in there. Now, wood from that cross was divided up, and it went to different parts of the world, all that kind of thing. But anyway, here's possibly wood from that cross. Again, the picture of where the crucifixion took place and burial. There is some controversy. In fact, it was on TV not so long ago, where there's two different places saying this is where he was buried. There was the one that I just showed you, which is kind of like down here, you follow the wall out, and then here is another area where there were tombs, and the possibility for a possibility that Jesus was buried there. This is that rocky area. They said, "Oh, you can. If you look just right, you can see a skull there." I didn't see it, but many others have. The tomb that we got to visit there. This part right here is kind of the visitors area when you come in. This is all hewn out of the rock. You come in, this is kind of the visitors area. This is where people were laid. Now, scriptures say that it was a new tomb that no one had been laid in yet. And this one was awfully new because it wasn't finished. This part here wasn't done yet. And this is what it actually looked like. The outside. And then, if this was the tomb that Jesus was laid in, that's where he was laid, on that side right there. And then off to the right was the part that wasn't finished being hewn yet. And just another view from the outside. Those rocks that were there, there was some degradation to the outside of it, and that was just to kind of block that up. Well, that obviously wasn't original. That's it. Again, just a very kind of a quick look at the different places that were, again, quite powerful to me. Places where hopefully you got a sense that I really felt, yeah, Jesus was here, breathing this air, or kicking around this dirt, or his blood was spilled on this rock, or he walked on this water, or, you know, any number of things. And again, I'm just so grateful to have had that experience. I know that it has affected the way that I teach, certainly the way that I preach, and has moved me deeply to have experienced those places where Jesus was. So again, thank you.